Hello, my name is Mindy, and welcome back to Oh My Growth. I still have a tattoo on my arm from the Sabrina Carpenter concert I went to a few days ago. I literally don't know how to get rid of it, but it just looks like a really bad tattoo at this point, so I'm just gonna go with that, I guess. Lately on TikTok, I've had the pleasure of having more contact with a lot of you, which has been really, really fun, both in the comments but also in DMs. And one of the things that I feel like has been most commonly discussed in a way is this idea of infatuation versus love. The two are very easy to confuse when you're in different relationships. And so I thought that would be a really good topic for us to explore a little bit together because I think myself, I feel like I've learned so much about that type of psychology, I guess, in the past just year or so. And it's made me be able to approach relationships much better and in a healthier manner. And I think that's just changed me for the better in general for my future. And I would love to have a conversation about it. Have you ever felt like you were really in love with someone and then you realize a few weeks later that you don't really know them or something comes up and you're like, whoa, I did not know that about you. I don't know if I like that. And then you're in a pickle because you've already said you love them, and there you are. It's always nice to hear the words I love you. It's also nice to say the words I love you and to feel them. But saying them too early on could potentially lead to a situation where you're stressed instead and, just tension in the relationship. So let's learn how to tell these two things apart. And let's learn why that actually matters in the first place. To begin with, I think it's important that we define the two terms. So we'll define infatuation and we'll define love. In my books, infatuation can be defined as an intense, but also very short lived passion or admiration for a person. It's more of a surface level attraction that you have for someone, and it's very, very emotionally charged. When we talk about love, however, I would define love as a deeper connection and something you build over time with a person. I would also say that it includes more trust, more commitment, and also a sense of like mutual growth between two people. As you can tell with those definitions, these are two very different terms. And the fact that they're so easily confused with one another can create a lot of tension. You could see infatuation more like a sparkler, and love is kind of a slow burning warm fireplace. Okay, that's a cute metaphor to think about when you think about these two terms. I want to break this down now into how we can tell the difference between the two, because that's where it can get really, really difficult. The first thing I want to talk about is time. So, infatuation, it's very fast. It's very intense, and love is more steady and grows. One thing that really fucks this up for us is the movie industry. Even the music industry for that matter. And this is a rant I went on in a previous episode that had to do with like moving on from breakups, because movies and the music industry and how love is painted up is wrong in my opinion. The industry that we have surrounding us paints love, the term love, with the face of infatuation. Like, you think of infatuation feelings and you think, okay, well, that's love. But it's not really love. The fast, the intense, the on and off, the hot and cold, like, that's not how I would want to define love. To be honest, that's more of an infatuation scene. And of course, like, if you're in an infatuation situation for a prolonged period of time, love will hopefully start to grow, but not until after some time has passed. Of course, there are many situations where I've talked to friends or like reflected on myself, and where you're in a situation where maybe just a few weeks have passed and you're already like, oh my God, I'm in love with this person. That's beautiful that you feel that way. Once again, it's always nice to hear the words I love you. It's always nice to say the words I love you and feel that feeling. But I don't think you can be in love with someone after 2 weeks. And the only reason I say that is because how have you actually gotten to know that person within 2 weeks' time? You can't completely get to know a person within 2 weeks. You can know a lot about a person in 2 weeks, but you can't know them to that extent. Like, that is more of an infatuation situation. Nothing wrong with that. Most relationships start with infatuation in the beginning. The whole beginning of a relationship is a little bit more surface level, and then you get into the nitty-gritty things. So it can start with infatuation, but saying I love you after 2 weeks, you're probably not in love with the person yet. You could become in love with the person, but that is more infatuation. And that's where movies really fuck us up, because in movies, people fall in love within a week, and then they get married, and then they have babies, and then they grow old together, and you're like, oh my God, wow, that's exactly what I want. No, it's not. That's not what you want. That's not how to build a sustainable, loving relationship. I have friends whose parents met very early on in their lives. My parents met when they were 12 or 13. Maybe that's wrong. Maybe they were 14, 15. But I don't remember. But they were very young when they met anyway. And that's really nice, of course. Some people get married after a few months and make that work. I have one friend whose parents met, and within a few months they were married, and they're still married today, like 20, 30 years later. And that's great. Like, that does happen. But once again, it starts with infatuation. And then if you're lucky, it can grow into love. Moving on to point 2 is depth. And that, I mean, it all ties in with time as well, but depth, like infatuation, it more idealizes a person and idealizes a situation. Love sees flaws and accepts these flaws within a person. You'll never meet someone perfect. And being in love with someone is being in love with them and all those little things that you find annoying. And something that annoyed you 1 week of dating this person, like if there is something week 1 of dating them where you're thinking, that's really annoying, that's probably still going to be there a year later. That's something you learn how to love or see as endearing or cute, even if you find it annoying in the beginning. In infatuation stages, it's more about idealizing a person and nothing's wrong with them and everything's perfect. You don't see these things. When love comes into play, you're starting to see the little quirks, see the things that maybe don't completely align with you, and then you learn how to love those parts of the person too. That's more sustainable and long lasting and has more depth to it. Another really important point when it comes to telling the difference is focus. This one's really important. If there's anything I want you to take with you from this, it's actually this point. When you're infatuated with someone, your focus is on how they make you feel. How do they make me feel? Okay? That's what you're focusing on when you're infatuated with someone. If you're in love with someone, your focus is not going to be how they make you feel. Your focus is going to be on how you care for each other. Okay? That's love. That's more of a loving situation. Now, of course, it's always important to focus on how you're feeling in a situation and checking in with yourself, because you do need to be your own priority throughout your lifetime in one way or another. But like, if you're infatuated with someone and something happens that throws the relationship off course, okay? Your focus is going to be on how that makes you feel. And you're going to be concerned with how you're feeling in that situation. And if you're not getting what you want, you'll feel like, oh, they're not giving me what I want. Like, oh, and you feel really frustrated because you're thinking of yourself. If you're in love with someone and the relationship is thrown off course, your focus isn't going to be just like, oh, this is making me feel really, really sad. It's going to be, how are they feeling? How can I make this better for us? Like, how can I move us forward? Those are the type of questions you'll be asking yourself. That's when you're starting to feel love for someone, because you even if you're uncomfortable, you think about how they're feeling, what they need, how you can maybe help them. Of course, while helping yourself too. But infatuation is more about focusing on yourself. And that's mostly just because like the focus of the whole infatuation phase of a relationship, or just in general when you're infatuated with someone, is that you're super attracted to them and there's this short-term like level of just a high. You're on a high with this person, but there's no real depth to that yet because you don't know them like that. You don't know their flaws. You don't know their past. You don't know them on that level. So it's very hard to put them in the same light as you put yourself, if that makes sense. It's not on that level yet. Love is more about doing things together, seeing you and that person as a team. And when it's a team effort, you focus on the common goal, not just your own priorities. The last part of how to tell the difference between the two is reality versus fantasy. And this is also a really common thing that we often overlook when we're in a situation like that. The question you need to ask yourself is, are you in love with them? Or are you in love with the idea of them? So often, we are in love with a version of a person that doesn't actually exist. We are focused on how we want them to be, or how we want them to treat us, or where we want the relationship to go. But when you're looking at reality and what's around you, that's not what's happening. That's not the reality of things at all yet. Will it ever get there? Maybe. There's no way to say yes or no. But the fact of the matter is, you need to date a person for who they are right now. You can't date a person for the potential of who they could be in the future because you just don't know if that's going to happen. You don't know if they're going to be the version of them that you want them to be. And frankly, it's kind of unfair to have that expectation on someone because you're not in a position where you can tell someone who they should be and who they shouldn't be. I opened up about this in a previous episode. Like, this is something that I have done wrong in the past. I've had expectations on people that weren't necessarily fair just because, like, I was projecting an image of what I was expecting and what I wanted for myself onto someone else. And you can't do that. I mean, you can, but you shouldn't, because that person should have every right and the space to grow into who they would like to become at their own time and at their own pace. But if you're dating someone and you're just hoping for change, that's both a little bit selfish, but also self-destructive because you're in love with the idea of them at that point. Dating someone for who they actually are, what they're showing you, what they're giving you, how they're speaking to you, how they treat you, that's a much more sustainable situation for you and for the other person too. And it goes both ways. If your partner is dating you for the potential of who you could become and is constantly annoyed or disappointed by different things you do and things you say and how you are as a person, is that really fair to you or to them? No, it's not. It's never nice to feel like you're not enough for a person or living up to someone's expectations. And in an infatuation situation, it's way more about being in love with the idea of someone and being in love with the idea of having that relationship that you've always longed for and that you see other people having. But when you're in love with someone, you're in love with them for who they are, how they treat you, how they show up for you, how your relationship is, and you feel fulfilled by that. That's true love situation. But again, I want to stress, if you've been in a situation for a prolonged period of time where it's been a lot of infatuation, you eventually do develop loving feelings for that person because you care about them. When we get to know human beings for a prolonged period of time, it's very natural for us to learn to love them and for them to learn how to love us because you're close and you spend a lot of time with that person. And so the line can become really blurred. But it is important to still ask yourself the question, are you in love with them or are you in love with the idea of them? That is a really important question to ask. And it's not like, this is not a hateful question to ask either. Being in love with the idea of someone doesn't mean you don't like who they are. It just means that maybe you're not compatible. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Everyone has different needs. Everyone is different when it comes to that. So that's a little bit about how we can tell the difference between the two. And we confuse them a lot just because of, there's a lot of reasons why we would confuse the two. But one of them is brain chemistry, honestly, because when you're infatuated with someone, there's a lot of dopamine release, and dopamine is it's the feel-good chemical, kind of mimics a high or euphoria, and you have a lot of excitement and there's a lot of attraction as well. When you're infatuated with someone, it's all about the attraction and the excitement. This is biological stuff, chemical stuff. I don't know which term is more correct here. I'm not that scientific, but it's very normal to feel that way, and it's your brain chemistry. There's not much you can do about that. But awareness goes a long way, and another important point to make when it comes to the brain and how it functions is that humans have very short attention spans nowadays. We're so used to things going so fast. Like when it comes to social media, when it comes to life in general, and how we grow up nowadays, like we grow up to learn how to have very short attention spans, and we want things to happen all the time. So if you're in a relationship with someone and it's more of a slow burn, you might psych yourself out and just think, oh my God, this is going so slowly, like something must be wrong. But not necessarily. Slow burns are not a bad thing. Slow burns means that you're getting to know a person on a deeper level, and one day it'll just click. And you'll either know that you don't want to be with that person, or it'll click and you'll be like, wow, wait a minute, this person is freaking fantastic. Slow burns don't mean that something's wrong with the relationship. It just means you're taking your time. And with our society of short attention spans, that can be really hard to do. But I would suggest if you've met someone who's really a good person and who makes you feel really good about yourself as well, and you feel good about them and you see a potential, then I would give that some time, honestly. Sometimes you need time. The second reason why we confuse the two are, once again, social. I go on and on about social media and movies and music industry and everything, but I have to say it again. Movies, songs, media, they glamorize infatuation so much and disguise that as love. The movie industry, it just, oh, I don't know. Like, I do love watching movies, so I have such a love-hate relationship with it, but it does kind of suck just because of how it paints relationships. And the example I gave in the previous episode was The Notebook, and I'll say it again, not to hate on the movie. I've watched it. I see why people want to watch it. It's good, I guess, but at the same time, that relationship is so freaking toxic and it's so not love. Like, that is serious infatuation signs in all shapes and forms, and still they grow old together and whatever and la 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 la. And you just get the wrong idea of what it's good to be looking for in that movie to begin with. And then there's so many more like it. So it's hard to escape. You can't escape it. I'm a really big fan of watching crappy Christmas movies every year. I do that. I look forward to Netflix putting out their Christmas movie selection, and I watch every single one, no matter how bad they are. Last year, or this Christmas, the worst one was about a snowman that came to life. Who came up with that? I'm sorry. I'm so sorry to the movie, but I really didn't like that movie. I thought it was really bad. But I did watch it, the whole thing. And all of them have the same storyline. And it's all about a love story that goes way too fast and doesn't make any sense. And within just a week, they're like, oh my God, I love you. And yeah, this is forever or whatever. Like, it's just such a common thread in movies and romance and everything like that. But I just don't fall for it, okay? Use your own mind here and think about what you want for your future. A last thing that can make it really hard for us to tell the difference is our past experiences, even unmet needs. Like, if you've been in situations where your needs have not been met, it can be really an amazing feeling to be in an infatuation phase just because you feel so good in the beginning with infatuation. You feel amazing. It's like euphoria. You're like, wow, and everything's so amazing. And it can just really disguise everything for you. So if you've had past experiences where your needs haven't been met, you might feel extra good when you're in an infatuation phase, but just don't let it fool you. Lastly, I do want to talk about what healthy love actually looks like, because that is the point of this episode. I want you to find healthy love. I think everyone deserves a healthy love, and healthy love can grow from the most unexpected places, honestly. Healthy love is all about having respect, having safety, having good communication, shared values, or the possibility of just talking to the person and having compromise. That's healthy love. Healthy love feels safe and secure, and It's not always butterflies all the time, but it is consistently supportive. And that can come slower. It can be a slow burn, like I said in the beginning, more of a burning fireplace, but it's long lasting. And long lasting is what I think most people are looking for, but just maybe fail to recognize that they need. But with healthy love, like in all situations and relationships, you will have disagreements, you will have arguments, you will have situations where you just don't, well, where you butt heads with another person because we all have opinions and we're just people, you know? It's really hard to be human sometimes. But in a healthy relationship, you can disagree with a person and still feel really secure and know where you have that person and know for a fact that they're not going to disappear. They're not going to walk out on you. They're there to stay. They're there to talk to you. It's going to work itself out. Like an argument in a healthy relationship doesn't feel scary. It doesn't feel scary. It doesn't feel like the end of the world because you know that it will work itself out in one way or another and it won't make you feel anxious in the same way as a disagreement in an unhealthy relationship does. That's one way that I think I've learned to tell the difference between a relationship where I think I like belong more in versus one that maybe wasn't as good for me. It's about the disagreements and the harder conversations. If you're in an unhealthy relationship, you will feel more afraid of having hard conversations because you don't feel secure and you don't know exactly where you have the other person. But when you're in a healthy relationship, you're not scared of the hard conversations. They come more naturally and you're not afraid to bring things up or say how you feel and be yourself. Doesn't that sound really beautiful? Look, at the end of the day, whatever relationship you want to be in, you be in. There is no one who is going to be able to tell you what to do or not to do in a situation like that. It's going to be up to you. But I do invite you to just reflect on what you want for your life. Like if you think about your future and what kind of situation you want to be in the future, whatever you see, strive for that. You only live once. You get one life. And of course, unhealthy relationships can grow into healthy ones over time, but I still invite you to ask yourself the hard questions. Some of the hard questions that were asked throughout this episode, but also other hard questions, and just be honest with yourself and check in because you deserve to feel like you're in a healthy dynamic where you can be the best version of you and feel secure. It's not always super easy to do that, but checking in and being honest with yourself is the greatest gift you can give yourself. And just to clear things up, like I'm not saying all infatuation situations are unhealthy. I mean, you can be infatuated and enjoy yourself, but if you're looking for a relationship, then infatuation is not what you should be seeking. You should be seeking for something more long-term and more sustainable than that if you're looking for a relationship. But whatever it is you're looking for, you go. You do that. You have fun. I mean, it's your life. So don't let anyone tell you what to do or what not to do. I want to wrap this up by thanking you a lot for the support that I've received this past 2 weeks. It's been overwhelmingly great. And I've really enjoyed having so much contact with people from all over the world and talking about topics like this, but also just getting to know random people. I think you're all so kind and smart, and it's just a really nice community. And I'm so grateful that that's starting to blossom and grow and that I get to be a part of that. So thank you so much for that. And if you have any ideas for what kind of episodes you would like me to do, then just let me know. I'm so grateful. So thank you so much. I will see you next time. Have a beautiful day, evening, morning, or night, and take care of yourself.